how do you get more time out of the day? And you can't. The bottom line is you can't create more time. You have to become more efficient with your time. And Mike talks a lot about effective versus efficient. And I'll tell you the fastest way for you to be able to accomplish more, open you up about 2 or 3 more companies. Because you don't have a choice but to be very, very efficient with your time when you have a whole lot of people that are counting on you to deliver, right? It is very, very, very difficult if you absolutely have to, life or death, and you know how many people are depending on you being able to execute what it is that you have on your plate. So we're going to talk about becoming a productivity warrior. Then we're going to talk about how to get your team to become productivity warriors. And then we're going to talk about how to manage your team of people that are around you, whether it's 1 agent or 2, 2 staff or whatever the case may be. But getting those right things done in the right order, and that is a critical part of this. We're going to talk about how to manage it. How do you become more efficient with your time? Okay. And John, you just you chip in anywhere that what would you say as far as this topic and the difference that it's made and some of the things that have been revelations for us as far as the company?
It's allowed us to move forward in a time when the market is going down. Most of you guys, what's your market? Does everybody know where their market's at right now? Is it down? Is it up? Down? Yeah, our market is too. Our market's down about 38%. But the things that we do and stay proactive in our day and managing our time, we're actually way above the curve. We're able to grow during the time when the market is down. And it's the daily activities, and it's paying attention to the things and doing the things that matter within your control during the day. And got a few of the girls in here with us from the team, and they get to a point when they just throw their hands up in the air and they're like, I can't do it no more. There's not enough time. So sit down, plan their day, put structure to it, and it's just it's the biggest aha moment for them, and they're able to push through and to achieve their goals that is laid out for them.
How many of you have read The Ultimate Sales Machine? What is the difference between success and failure? It's the execution. And this is the absolute hardest part. But if you walk, there's going to be plenty of great ideas. There's going to be plenty of green hatting, as Mike calls it. And we love the green hat. If you get us in a room and we're going to green hat, we'll go all day long. We'll never stop. And then as soon as the black hat comes out, the fun's over and the party's over. That's a party killer if you've ever seen one. Chapter 1 is probably the most powerful thing outside of the mastering the Rockefeller habits. It's probably the most powerful thing that I've ever seen happen. Not only to me personally is like daily productivity, but what I've seen it do for other people as well. And I'm going to share a couple of things, and the only reason I know to share this is because Jeff Smith actually shared something with me about it, and it made a difference for him. So hopefully it'll make a difference for you as well. When it comes down to the time that you have allocated to your business, the time that you're going to invest in building your business and building it to that ultimate dream that what you want to achieve, there is no better time than from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. How many of you are night owls? Yeah, buddy. Guess what? So was I. For a lot of years, that was the main. You wouldn't catch me. I'll be at the office at midnight. Didn't bother me. I'll be there at 1 o'clock. Didn't bother me. But I didn't get up early, and I certainly wasn't at my best usually. Many times I was maybe closer to my worst. But when it comes down to it, Jeff, you had you had the same revelation, right? Was this a year or 2 years ago?
Are we talking about getting up?
Yeah, getting up early.
Oh, I still struggle.
Yeah, but when you made that change though, you did make at least a slight change, right?
I do it for a few days.
Yeah, still here and there. But does it make a difference?
Oh, without a doubt.
How much is your business up this year?
100%.
100%? Is that a pretty good number? Does anybody want their business to be up 100%? Yeah. Okay. You want to know how to do it? This is how you do it. It's absolutely productivity management. These are the exact things. And so just to give you a little bit of background, working harder is not the fun way to do it. You can do it by working harder. That's not the fun way. The fun to do it is by working smarter. And you hear that all the time, but it really comes down to the productivity management. And our business has doubled multiple times from 70 transactions to over 110 to 233 to 367 to 4 or something, 440 or whatever, and then to 500 and something transactions. That does not happen by accident. But it's so easy to do. There's so many ways and ideas and ways that you're going to be able to grow your business when you leave here. Having the strategic plan, knowing exactly where you're at, and then the execution of that plan is all it is. There's only two things. These two topics are literally probably the foundational principles upon whether you're going to succeed or you're not going to succeed or as quickly as you would like to. So, one of the things that was really cool to watch was how Mike grew his business, twice as fast as I did. It took me 5 years to get to being $1 million, company. It took him 3 years. So, that's the goal here, is to speed up the process, right? Okay, so we're going to get into how important this is. In the book, they talk about this is the time management, time and productivity management of billionaires. Charlie Munger, Chet Holmes works for Charlie Munger, who is partners with Warren Buffett, and these are the management principles and productivity management that they use in their businesses. Okay, so the 6 steps to time management, and John, I'll let you kind of key in on this because you deal with this literally on a daily basis from a management side too. Mm-hmm. We'll go back to step number 1. So touch it once. If you touch it, take action. Don't open that email letter until you're ready to deal with it. How many of you check your email like more than 50 times a day? Isn't that annoying? I still have problems with that one. Yeah. What happens when you open that email? How many times do you open an email and you're like, I don't have time to mess with that, right? And then you go back to, go to the next one or go do something else, and then you have to come back to it later, and you got to reread it again. And you got to get right back in that frame of mind and get ready to deal with it. How much time is that wasting every single day? This literally takes more pig-headed discipline than you can imagine to not check your email, checking it 2 times a day.
Yeah, the biggest game changer for me, and it just annoyed my wife to no end, was I had the little bicycle ring on my BlackBerry. How many of you guys have had that? Every time a text message goes off or an email goes off, it chimes. Biggest game changer for me was I turned it off. I turned all my notifications off, turned everything off, put my phone on vibrate. Okay, no noise, no distractions. Was able to stay focused. It increased productivity just through the roof by not being squirreled. Yeah. Stay away from the squirrels.
Everybody get the squirrel, right? Man, let me tell you, that squirrel he's something else. And the funniest thing is Danny's the one that pointed it out to us. We chase squirrels like it's the worst disease you can have. It's the worst disease you can have. If we could be in the middle of something and an idea comes up and boom, we're out chasing that idea, taking us off the plan. And a lot of times our email does that. It takes you off of what it is that you're focused on. And getting refocused in your mind, it takes time to get refocused back down on what it is that I'm doing, trying to execute into your time block. And we'll tell some stories here in a minute about some of the things that we've done based on this that are not just comical, but just absolutely game changers as far as staff and the expenses that we have. So number 2, making lists. And we're going to show you the actual list that we use. List the 6 most important things you need to get done and get those things accomplished each day. This is a pretty simple principle, right? How many of you make lists? How many have lots of lists? Multiple lists? Me too. And that's good. You need to have lists. That's part of keeping track, especially if you're like me. I'm like Dory the Bluefish. I can't remember what my name is half the time. So I got to write down everything. What is it? Go back and refer to that list. You start picking things off that list and putting them into your day and planning them into your day with pig-headed discipline.
Lots of lists. And your first list comes from what Mike just shared with the strategic plan. And another word that he talked about within alignment. So you have your list that you're going to try and knock out for the year. You have your list that you're going to try and knock out for the quarter. You have your list that you're going to knock out for the month. You have your list you're going to knock out for the week. And then the big list is your big 6, which is your daily.
Yeah, and if you've ever seen, I don't know if any of you've ever been to our office before or seen the office before, there's on the wall, literally across, John and I are actually in the same office, on the wall there's a marker board. And I mean, this thing covers like the entire wall. And there is, that, by the way, if you ever want to, that's the best green hatting tool you can ever have. Like, if you don't have a marker board that covers at least one of the walls in your home or in your office, you got to have one. It's absolutely the most fun ever to take those ideas and break it down.
I think Lowe's dry erase panels, $5.98 a sheet.
Yeah. And just nail them up together. It's pretty ghetto, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's not classy by no
So,
means.
yeah, but anyways, all that stuff, all our quarterly goals, all our strategic plan, all our mission, vision, core values, I mean, it's not just on one sheet in front of everybody's desk. I mean, it's on the wall. I mean, you can't walk into our office and not see what our plan is, what we're doing, what we're working on. So that culture that Mike was talking about, that carries out throughout the organization. It's not just one of you have to be be able to manage that big six. Everyone has to have a big six with pig-headed discipline. And this has been probably the most effective thing that I've ever seen happen is, let me tell you how many times you're going to have to ask for a big six from your staff. Okay, how many of you have at least one assistant or buyer's agent or anything like that? All right? Okay, you're going to have to ask every day for at least 6 months before you'll ever teach them that habit. But the end result will be they will be absolutely so appreciative, and the numbers you'll see them be able to accomplish, what they'll be able to do is incredible.
They will thank you.
Incredible difference.
They will thank you. It frees their time up. They're not taking things home. They have their day. They come in. They're prepared, and it's a must.
Okay, so planning your time accomplishes 6 tasks. If the item's too large to finish in a day, break it up into smaller chunks. What's important initiatives are you not getting done because they're too much time? One of the mistakes that I used to make in this was, if it was a big, I mean, if you have like a big project you want to get done and you don't want to start it because you can't take it all the way to completion, I have a big issue with that. When I start something, I want to finish it. So breaking that thing into chunks and starting, okay, I'm going to work a little bit on this today for 1 hour, focus, turn the phones off, locking the door, we order stop signs. Everyone in our office has a stop sign. And we put the stop sign up on the door. It means we're in our time block. You don't come in and start knocking on the door and start interfering with what's going on. In fact, probably one of the best things that ever happened. At one point we had 3 closing coordinators, and if you do the math, you can ask anybody in the country number of transactions that we're doing. We'll probably do 4 and a quarter, something like that this year. We have 1 closing coordinator. Is that impressive to anyone in the room? Okay. The business model has to be profitable, and in order to do that, when you have an average sale price of $125,000, you got to be right on with every single dollar that's being spent. There is no room for any extra money. There's just not. You can't have fluff. So one of the things that we had an issue with was, and we started evaluating the time that's being spent, and it's being proactive versus reactive. Because everybody knows the difference between that, right? If you're proactively working on something versus something comes up and then you just take it and you just start doing it. How many of you do that a lot in your day-to-day business, right? Just things come up and boom, you're on it, you just jump on it. That's good. That's the sign of a winner, no question. You get on it, you jump on it, get it done, do it now. I'm a believer in that. That's something that you have to do to be successful, but at the same time, not if it's not in your big 6. And more importantly, not if it's not something that you're going to change the outcome in. Okay, when you start learning to delegate, this gets really fun. When you start learning to delegate, if you don't change the outcome in what it is you're working on, you delegate it, period. If you don't change the outcome and what happens, by presenting an offer, I don't change the outcome, so I don't present offers. Okay, they're going to either accept that offer or negotiate the offer based on the system that was created by me, the way I would do it if I was in the room, and if I need to get involved, I become involved. Does that make sense? So that's where the true leverage is, and when you get really good at this, you'll learn how to pretty much be useless because I delegate everything now.
With that, joking, you're going to do more. Absolutely, you will, but it's focused time, not, I'm going to be a little reactive and let the time vampire come get me in here. No, it's focused, stop signs up. That's what I'm doing for that time block.
All right. So throw it away. This is something that, when you got a big closet, you can store a lot of stuff in there. How many of you have a desk full of everything everywhere? I was in Mike's office literally, this was last week, and he started to see he started to see a whole different side of the reasons why I do things. And I've got this this big round thing that's got all these binders in it, right? And I have 0 C's. I'm negative S, negative C, to the highest possible deal on the disc profile. And I have no organizational, skills whatsoever, but everything's got its own binder and everything else, and this big, huge thing that spins around in my office behind my desk. And Mike doesn't even have a trash can. So he invites me into his office. He's like, hey man, come here and look at my office, and what do you think? As far as getting things all kind of organized, what do you think I should do? And I said, man, you need to start throwing some stuff away. I said, dude, this stuff has been here since I've known you. I said, you don't even have a bookshelf in here. I said, you got books just laying on the floor. I said, and he's just smiling. He's like, I know, right? And I'm like, yeah. I said, how do you operate in this environment? Seriously? And he's just laughing, and I said, well, start throwing, look, what is this? Do you need it? No, throw it away. He's like, but, okay, all right. So I started looking for the trash can, and I was like, where's the trash can? He's like, so he walks out of the office and goes into an office, a little ways down the hall and gets the trash can. He's like, I didn't have a trash can. I said, that's the first thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think that's a pretty simple step, but he didn't have the trash can. So, but that's throw this stuff away. If you're not going to use it, you're probably never going to. If not, put it in an area where you can, when you have time, leisure time, you can read stuff or whatever. But if it's not something you're going to use, just throw it away. Get it out of the way. So those are the principles behind the ultimate salesman machine. But now let's kind of put them in action. Why don't you talk a little bit about critical numbers, John?
Your critical numbers are the numbers that, well, I always look at it, what drives the P&L. It's what's important within your control that you can look at any given time to forecast where you're going. The P&L is the scoreboard of what you've done. Cliff can relate to this. It's the scoreboard on the golf. Yeah, you can relate to this. But the critical numbers are the numbers to focus on within their control that drives the outcome that you're working towards, and being able to focus on those numbers and execute on those numbers. And we'll look at it here in a second to where we have it broke down within our impact zones, and each impact zone has its own set of critical numbers. So that's Jay and I, that's the nerd in us. We pay attention to the numbers probably, I wouldn't say more than we should, but it consumes a lot amount of our time to know the ratios and know the percentages to where we can make executed decisions moving forward and being able to obtain the goals that we have set for ourselves.
Everyone in our company has a revenue stream that they're in charge of, a revenue stream. So you never hire anyone to do a job. You hire someone to manage a revenue stream. So when it comes down to it, what are the critical numbers within that job description that on a daily basis that they need to be working on that drives revenue to the bottom line? Does that make sense? So what used to be, we would hire someone, it's the receptionist, so you just got to have one, right? No, you start finding things that they can do that drive revenue, and you have them report on that, right? So not only tracking the incoming calls and making sure things are done appropriately with that, you can also put some of the mailing systems expired for sale by owner, things of that nature. You can put that on their plate and make it a revenue stream, and building your staff around revenue, not just hiring people, right? It's really important strategically to do that because they have to have something that drives revenue and something that they own and something that's important to them, and it ties back to the vision. So that's a really important thing, is just hiring a bunch of people, making sure that when they meet with you, they know daily what it is they're supposed to be doing that drives revenue. Okay? And they know how important that is because they got to report those critical numbers to you in those meetings, these impact zone meetings we're going to talk about.
Yeah, their cost has to be able to be allocated to the revenue to see what the true net of that transaction or of that activity, what it is. If it doesn't make sense, if the numbers don't make sense, then don't do it.
Yeah. So your business right now breaks into a few different categories. I'll give you an example. Who knows what the most profitable thing that you do is in your business? Somebody just throw it out there. Listing, prospecting, all these things drive revenue. Those are all right answers. In my business, there's nothing that makes me more money outside of working on the business strategically than being on a listing appointment. That's when you get into the detail of really truly knowing your numbers and knowing what you can and can't do. We didn't used to do this. We didn't realize that it was costing us money to take Carter's business because they take a 37.5% referral. That's like assuming that you have a 37.5% profit margin. And unless you're doing those deals, you don't. I can assure you. It cost us money. It was robbing our staff's time doing things that were not productive, that did not drive revenue. We didn't have the right KPIs and the right critical numbers in the right place. So these are the kind of revelations that we've been having and learning how to really work on dollar productive activities and really following it through to the end of the day and looking at that P&L and saying how much money, how much of the net revenue, not just the gross revenue, how much of the net dollars that got put into the bank account came from this particular activity. Do we want to keep doing it or do we not want to keep doing it? Can we improve it? So that
ties in right there to the third point. You have to know, and to know, you have to do the math.
So these are just examples of the list that we keep. I literally have mine in the back of the room. I have 3 different sets of these that I keep. This is just kind of the 90-day plan with the goals and stuff.
That first form, just like what we said a second ago with the checklist, that's all this is your checklist. Just make sure it aligns with your strategic plan, with what Mike talked about a while ago. Just everything needs to be in alignment with your activities, making sure you're moving towards your quarterly or monthly goal.
So just keep an idea of a big 6. Actually, everyone in our office has a marker board. It's right, big 6 on it. Sits on the desk, right? It sits right above my phone every single day. You have to fill out your big 6 and plan your day. Now, everybody knows you're supposed to plan your day. Again, tell me how many of you are doing it. Pick at a discipline every single day, looking at your list, looking at everything you have to do, and planning and projecting your time into your day. That's the one thing, if you take away, that will change your business forever. One thing. It's the only thing if you just do that, it will change your business forever. Simple, 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 but it's the hardest thing to execute.
This is an example of Jay's big 6 right here, and explain to them why you have it. I mean, this is in order. This is in order of priority, and just go ahead and kind of run through and explain why.
So this is an example. Everybody in the room, by the way, is worth $5,000 an hour. And if you tell yourself that every day in a daily affirmation, I'm worth $5,000 an hour, you will get pissed when people start trying to vampire your time. And you have to get to that point.
Yep.
It's pig-headed discipline. If you don't have pig-headed discipline, this isn't going to happen. You got to get serious about your time. Hey, we ain't getting any younger. Let me tell you, it feels like just yesterday I was 23 years old, cruising around the lake having a good time. I'm 33 freaking years old. This is ridiculous. Okay? I am getting old and I don't like it and I can't do anything about it. Okay? If you don't take massive action towards this, you will watch your life go along and just scoot along and you won't accomplish your goals. You have to have that pig-headed discipline, man. That's got to talk to you. So this is a typical day that I would plan for myself. Recruiting. There's not anything I can do in or on the business really that could potentially make more money than a recruit. Does that make sense? Okay, a person that I bring onto the team that is going to sell X number of houses per year is by far the most valuable thing that I could ever do. So keep that in mind when you're planning your day. If you don't have an agent or you're looking at recruiting agents, this is by far one of the most productive things that you can do because they bring in revenue. Okay. The second thing on my list in order was a listing reduction. Okay. Right now in our marketplace, I hope you know all your numbers in your marketplace. Generally speaking, 5% of the sales in January, 6% in February. June, July, August is 11%, 11%, 11% of the overall market sales, right? So is anybody's market on a bell curve like this? Familiar with that?
Seasonal curve.
Seasonal curve? It probably is. You need to know that. You need to look at it because let me tell you what happens. You can't buck the trends, okay? We can. We actually have been a little bit. But it's the hardest thing that I used to have to do was try to plan our business and our budget around knowing that double the business was going to happen in June, July, and August that was going to happen in December, January, February. And every year I would get to the wintertime and I'm like, all right, we're just going to work harder this year. We're going to get them. And I'm like, dang, we still lose money in December. We still lose money in February. How the heck are we going to get out of this? But when you have 14, 15% market share of all the deals that happen, market goes up, guess what? You go up. Market goes down, you go down with it. You don't buck the trend. It is what it is. So we had to start doing things proactively. How are we going to get ahead of the market? How do you pick up more market share when in months that are going to be slower? And what's interesting, and John, the numbers are down 38% in our market right now year to date versus last year.
Yes.
This tax credit made for a tremendous, not a tremendous, but a noticeable bump in sales in the first quarter or second quarter. Anybody else's market? Okay. What happened this summertime? Did it die off? Guess what? We got a lot of builders that saw that first quarter saying, here we go. Guess what? How much is inventory in new construction right now?
Up 40%.
Whoa, that's not good. What do you think we're about to see? A defining gap between new construction and existing construction is about to happen in our market. I can see it as clear as I can see myself in the mirror. What's going to happen is the existing sales are going to slow down and the prices are going to drop, and they're going to drop just like they did in 2008. Because I'll never forget when Curtis Johnson said, when the price starts dropping, it's like falling off a table. Does everybody remember that? Okay, I don't have amnesia. I learned something. I remember. It sucks when the market goes down, and we are in a self-inflicted wound that we've made in our own marketplace, and I've got to be aware of that. So what do you think we're doing right now? Price reductions, baby, all day, every day. You know why we are up? We've had 2 of the best months that we've ever had. This time of year, maybe the 2 best months ever. Back to back to back, and it looks like December's shaping up to be another best month because I'm ahead this time instead of behind.
Yeah.
our sellers were chasing the market downhill. You know why? Because we didn't have the systems in place, and I didn't know any better, that you had to get ahead of it. You can't be like the last one to reduce when everybody's going down. Everybody, you know what? You're thinking about it, so is everybody else. The market down. Now, okay, now you call your sellers and tell them. They come down, and where's everybody else now? Another level below you. So you never catch them, okay? So that's huge.
Mike Gentry's house. Share this example.
Yeah.
Where it was priced at, what the market has shifted drastically. It's a $240,000, $50,000 house, and then
In its heyday, it was probably for sure, $250. We got a price of $199.9. It was $228.9.
Yeah.
We had that difficult conversation. He owns a bunch of McDonald's. He's a great guy, good friend of mine. Done business with him a lot, and he didn't want to hear what we had to tell him. But I know one thing: I wasn't going to be able to sell that house and collect the commission unless we lowered the price.
we dropped it Friday, $15,000, and that's going to be the difference in it selling.
Yeah, difference in it being on the market at 9. So why are all our listings moving right now? Why are we selling right now? Because they're taking action specifically based on what the market is in front of us. So this is critical. So as much as I don't like to, there's sellers. How many of it's difficult? No matter how good you get at it, how many of it's still difficult to get these price reductions, right? Man, you got to know the numbers, don't you? You got to be able to paint the vision and create that pain to make it happen. So these are the activities that we're working on. How are we on time? Anybody know? 20 minutes. All right, we're good. All right, so prospecting. Okay, listing appointment on number 3 Wentwood. Man, let me swing in there and get that listing right quick. Hey, geez, I'm in. Put it on my schedule. Okay, that's going to be number 1 for me. Or if there's anything to do with that I change the outcome in, I'm on it. Right? That's a lot of money. There's not a lot of things I can do that's going to make more money. I'm going to do that activity. Prospecting expired for sale by owner, set 2 appointments. If the difference, the difference is, and I'm putting examples, at a high level, some of these things are what I work on daily, but whatever it is that drives revenue that you do every day are the things that you're going to want to build into your big 6. If you're prospecting, which I heard that over here in the corner, that is definitely going to be something that drives revenue, right? If you don't prospect, what happens? Anybody ever had a month, a business, a year that goes like this? Good month, bad month. Good month, bad month, good month. Has everybody ever experienced that? That's not fun at all, is it? So how do we overcome that? Because and I heard Haas say it. I think I may have heard Mike say it, and maybe 2 or 3 times today already. It's the actions that you're taking 3 months, 6 months ago that drive your revenue today. We're going to talk about this in the magnetic marketing session about cash conversion cycle, and I think Mike might have mentioned that. Understanding that if you invest $750 a month into a marketing, the result is you get the listing. 2 months, month 2, you invest $750. 3 months, you invest $750. 4 months, you invest $750. How many months go by before you actually break even on that? Because the house has to go on the market, it has to sell, and you have to collect the check. Okay? So how many times have you started something and you're like 2 or 3 months later, you're like, whoa, better pull back on that one, I'm running out of revenue, right? I made the same mistake with TV. Spent $10,000, $10,000, $10,000, $10,000, $10,000, $10,000, $10,000. $80,000 later, I broke even. 8 months. I didn't have $80,000 to light a match to. I was like, trying to juggle, how are we gonna make it? I got all these listings and they ain't closing. It was just we trying to keep up. But you know what? I would have never stopped TV if I would have been prepared and known what the cash conversion cycle was on that money. So being willing to make that, knowing your numbers well enough to be able to make that investment when it's time is critical. So these are the things that we do to drive revenue. Squirrel. Yeah, getting with the rental department. I don't know how that ends up on my plate, man. Our rental department's something else. But we're going to start managing properties before long, I can tell you. My dad owns the rental management company, and we have vastly different management and hiring strategies for sure. So it's a challenge, to say the least.
These are some of your dollar productive activities.
Yeah, so on my schedule, literally like, door knocking for checks is sometimes is what I got to do.
Sometimes.
All right, so impact zone meetings. Working on the business. 2 things too. On the, I like to keep them separate on those lists. I like it on the business and in the business. Okay, because I like the green hat stuff stays on the business stuff. In the business is the actually tactical things that you got to do to get where you want to go. So keeping those separate and then building time in your time block where you're doing some percentage of on the business versus in the business.
Cherry pick listing appointments. Cherry picking the right listing appointments, the ones that are going to sell within your average days on market time frame, knowing your cash flow and keeping those things always in mind is very important.
Yeah. So if If there's a way for me to take all the listings, by the way, we're working on this, so next conference, for sure by then, we're going to have it nailed down to a science, I believe. This has been something I want to do for a long time. Because the mistake that I made in 2008, I believe it was, I said, peace out, John. Take care of everything at the company. I'm going down and working on Kinderies. That didn't work. All right? So then again, I tried it again. That was like 2006. Then it was 2008. I tried it again. Didn't work. You can't just pull yourself out of your business and hope that everything goes well. I was like, so that's not a good strategy. But when it came down to it, there was some management things that were missing. There's some leadership things that we didn't know on how to really truly manage and run things. And impact zones were the answer, which is, again, reread the book, Ultimate Sales Machine. An impact zone is any area of your company that has a direct impact on the bottom line. And we're going to share with you what our impact zones are in our company. The purpose of having these is having the right people focused on a predetermined revenue stream, like we talked about earlier, with clear expectation as to what the daily, weekly, and monthly goals are. It's no more than 1 hour. Try to do it in the morning, avoiding peak times of productivity in the day, which you can talk about that, John, because that's been, you've been very, very, very good about this with the staff.
Yeah, and the big question that I'm sure you guys have, because I had it, was who needs to be in these meetings? And I don't know about you guys. I don't want to be in a meeting where I'm just sitting there listening to what's going on. So how do you determine? Well, it's the staff. It's anyone that is a driver to the critical number for that area. That's who needs to be in there. If they're not a driver to the outcome for that particular impact zone, don't waste their time, because they can be doing something else that's helping drive the bottom line. So that's huge to know who to have in there. Stay pig-headed discipline on the 1 hour. You will start fading off, and squirrels will start appearing if you go past that. This is our just kind of standing agenda. It moves a little bit. It's kind of depending. Good news shared by all. Just run around the room. What's good, what's happening, and let everybody kind of share what's good happening in their life at the time. Measurements. What are those critical numbers?
Where are we at?
Where are we at? Where are we at? We know our goal for the month. We know our goal for the week. So where are we at in relation to goal? Give an example on the listing side. This is a good one. Listing impact zones. We need to know what are some of the critical numbers that drive the outcome for that particular area.
How many listings do we take? How many went under contract? How many expired? How many are temporarily off the market? What's our net number of listings? How many price reductions did we get? How many are expiring in the next 30 days? Who do we have? Which is a whole separate, actually, a separate impact zone meeting is the company generated business meeting where we talk about every seller lead in every single funnel and where we're at in the process with them. How many we have expected coming on? How many second appointments we've gone? How many are paperwork and waiting? Knowing every single detail of every single number in that appointment. If you don't have staff that can report these numbers, guess who has to know these numbers? That's right. Okay. You will quickly start delegating when you see that managing your business becomes a lot more work than you want to do it. It will motivate you to hire more people, because these things you have to know in order to drive revenue. But if it takes you away and you have these ups and downs in your business right now, what's happening is you're working the good months, you're closing from the results of a few months back or a month back, depending on where you're working by your sellers. So that the ups and downs of your business are because of those daily activities that drive revenue that aren't getting done daily, right? Good closing day, I'm taking off, I'm going to play golf, but you didn't prospect today. But guess what? You prospected every day 3 months ago. So what happens? A couple months later, you feel the pain, right? So it's really important to get a grasp on that and then to start and to make sure that you can see it before it happens, because it's like recruiting. When you need a recruit, how many of you have been in serious need of an agent and didn't have a buyer's agent or had one leave or anything like that? And nobody's ever had that problem? Okay, let me tell you what. You don't just go out tomorrow and recruit an agent. Has anybody ever had success with the one-day close on recruiting an agent? Because I need to take some notes.
Yeah, we're buying.
There is a time period to make that happen. So you don't just look back and go, hey, we're down to 2 agents, John. Mm-hmm. We might want to start recruiting. That is absolutely, if not a weekly, maybe a monthly activity that you have to be working on agents that you want to bring on board based on your growth, based on these tools that you may be implementing. You're going to invest in a tool like Tire Leads. Do you want to invest in that tool and then not have any agents to call those leads? Do you want to invest in that tool and not have the systems and the policies in place before you bring them on or afterwards? How are you going to set the expectation of bringing on that agent if you don't set the expectation, how are you going to hold them accountable? Too often we jump into spending the money before we actually have the systems and the processes down that determine the ultimate profitability. We have killed Tiger Leads by 500% in the last 30 days just by implementing better systems. Killed it. This incredible, ridiculous, unbelievable money falling through the cracks. Just falling through the cracks because of poor management. And that's just, we tried, but we didn't get, we got to get better, better, better. So that's what it boils down to. So,
run back there real quick.
We're down to 10.
We're down to 10. Okay, real quick. Just run through on the agenda real quick. We hit feedback from people in the meeting, collective intelligence, everybody in the meeting focusing on one rock, one main priority within that impact zone for that particular area. SWOT analysis, what Mike talked about earlier, and then we throw it around and do a 360 analysis, let them tell us what we can be doing better for them, what roadblocks, what choke points do we have. Their computers are terrible, they need new computers, their monitors aren't big enough, they need duals, just all those things. And then one phrase closing, get a budget.
But they'll tell you. It's funny though, what do you think having our number one person that's driving revenue is in the listing department. It's our number one net revenue stream, and her computer is freezing up every 5 minutes. What do you think that's costing us? A lot more than a new computer. So how important is it to fix that choke point for her? When do you normally learn about these choke points in your business? Never. I mean, they just keep to themselves. They think it's normal. You know what I'm saying? That's the way their computer runs at home, so they're not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Say, hey, what are your choke points? Those choke points are important. You want to know what's wrong. What is keeping you from being able to move faster? And you get them into this habit and this rhythm, and all of a sudden now you know where your problems are right then. You can fix them right away. And when you do that, guess what? Everybody wants to help make things better. And that's where you get the rhythm. That's where you start to move fast. All right, so impact zone meetings, we're going to get into. These are the weekly meetings, okay? Every single week without fail, we have these meetings in our business. Recruiting and retention. Unfortunately, CRM. That's a fun one. Sales meeting and training. Company-generated business, marketing, accounting, and financial. Those are the most important because we have them weekly. Okay, so these are the weekly impact zone meetings that are in the schedule. Guess what? Every single day is time blocked. Every single day. Every single minute of every single day, there is not any white space before my day starts. Generally speaking, that may not be a week out. There is no room for things to just happen. There's no room for that. Not if you want to grow fast. So
Utilizing the Google Apps calendar, what I love is it sends you the notification at 5:04 every morning, tells you what you're doing for the day.
Yeah. Google Apps is amazing. If you don't have it, it's basically free. And you can plan all these things in there. It gives you reminders. Very, very cool tool. Everyone on the team can see our calendar. They know where our open spaces are. They can see if they want me and John in a meeting. Boom, we got all the time to be able to accomplish that.
What's
CRM is just our customer management tool, basically. We've been working on a new database. And it's the most painful thing in the world, by the way. If you ever had to do that, I don't care what anyone says, database sucks, right? But it's a major choke point because how many of you are double or triple or quadruple entering data into one or more systems? Yeah, you can't get your numbers right now because nobody's built the tool, but guess what? We will. You're going to see that, I think, tomorrow or the next day.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, so really exciting. So, and by the way, we will never, ever, ever tell you to change management tools until there's the perfect one because that's the worst experience you've ever had if you've ever tried to move databases.
Twice.
Woo. Yeah, don't do that one. So there was short sales, REO.
Hit it again.
Affiliate relations. Who gave me this thing anyway? All right, listing department and closing department. So those meetings are held bi-weekly. So you can have too many meetings, trust me. All right, daily huddles. Okay, so the purpose. This is probably the fastest moving thing that we do in the daily huddle.
Every morning, 15 minutes on your feet. It's a good way to kind of get the day going. Motivation. Everybody goes around the room. Good news. What's going on? What's happening? Measurements for the day. Ties right back into the critical numbers, the KPIs. And then identify any choke points. Not a time to problem solve. Identify the choke point. Take it offline. All right, we're done. Rock and roll. Let's start the day. That's how break it down to administrative, break it down to sales team, small company, small team all together. Give them every opportunity. Give them a phone line to call in on so they don't have an excuse that they're running their kids to school. Call in on the phone. There's an opportunity to be there.
So the daily huddle is a part of or the daily structure that happens. If you want to have rhythm in your business, you can't let things go weekly, bi-weekly, monthly before you address them. So that daily huddle is all about keeping the rhythm in the company. And every single day, everyone that's in there, whatever their critical numbers are, boom, 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 across the whole company. And the company that, and this is Rockefeller Habits, the company that did this, does anybody know where the Container Store or have Container Stores in your area? Okay, their lower management has a daily huddle. 15 minutes later, their middle management has a huddle on the phones. And then their CEO has their upper management meeting within 15 minutes. Within 45 minutes, you go from anything that as a choke point in that company that happened on the floor in the Container Store, an issue or a problem, goes all the way to the CEO daily. How powerful is that? How powerful is that? The CEO of that company knows what's happening at the bottom level of the company based on what their choke points and what their victories are and what their daily numbers are so they can measure whether they're on pace or not on pace for their goals. That's how powerful the huddles are. It becomes such a rhythm that you really can't slow down. It's like an engine. The right people doing the right things right. Rule number 1, hire slowly. Good enough is not good enough. Disc profiling, top grading, sales interview, check their references and employment contracts.
Hire, slow. Do the math on a bad hire. Do the math.
Fire. Does anybody right now have someone they know they need to fire? Go get on the. When you get back, fire them. Okay. Let me tell you. Let me tell you how you have no idea how much it's slowing you down. It'll be the best thing you ever do. I've never ever let someone go that I knew I needed to let someone go and regretted it. Never. Not once. So you have to make sure that you do that. You cannot keep poison on your staff. You cannot keep people that are not productive, that are not bought into the vision. You can't keep them with you. You got to let them go. They will bring you down. They will slow you down so much it can cost you your business. So fire fast, hire slow. Okay, so training. Have them read the books you read. Have them listen to Ultimate Sales Machine, Chapter 1, because you got to teach them that same productivity. Every single day, the Big Six better be in my inbox by 9 a.m., period. If not, guess who's getting a phone call? Are you dedicated to being productive today or not? That's hard. Let me tell you what, that is really hard. It's hard enough just to do your own Big Six, much less make everyone else do it.
Hire leaders, but also make sure that they have a commitment to be better and a commitment to learn. So that's important.
Yeah. You can't change people, change people. That's the same thing, fire fast. You try to change them and it doesn't work, you just change people. So that's pretty much it, I think, on this topic.